Hello, I am happy to be on your screen again today on the program Nigerian Now, where we discuss everything Nigerians, issues ranging from politics, education, crime, just a lot of issues that concern Nigeria. And today, just like every other day, we'll be looking at some very critical issues that are very paramount that we talk about them on the program Nigerian Now. And I will be doing this with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Celia.
It's been a while. How you doing?
Fine. How about you?
I'm great, thank you so much. And I am your host, Celia Elisha Dasham. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can do well to follow us live there. Drop your comment, drop your contribution on any of the story that we will be discussing today that is relevant to you, because we'd love to hear your own take about all of the things that are happening, that are unfolding every day on a daily basis. And we will go straight into the discussion, Rachel, starting with the issue of tackling insecurity in Nigeria. Just on Friday, we had where over 24 students in Zamfara were being abducted, even though about 6 were being rescued by the operative. But then it is sad because we keep having the issue of insecurity ravaging the northeast, the northwest, because even though we know insecurity, it's quite rampant in other places, but then it tends to be that it has found a very soft spot in the northeast and in the northwest, and we know that Zamfara happened to be one of those places. And over the years, we've had issue of abduction taking place over and over. And then questions will now come, what is the government doing about this? We know that from eyewitnesses, because the school is yet to release a statement concerning this, what is already everywhere. Security agencies are trying their best to do. But what beat my mind, Rachel, is the fact that where the students were being abducted was one of the off-campus. Now, I want you to note some of the key points off campus. And I know there were times where you and I have been pushing forward to the fact that the federal government needs to do something where we have all the students living in the campus, not off campus. We always have off campus. Why? Because the hostel is really not cannot accommodate everybody that is schooling, and that is why we have these students, those who were living off campus. Secondly, we're also looking at the issue of gender, that it wasn't the male students that were being abducted, rather we had female students were being abducted. And then having conversation, looking at correspondence that were there, said the fact that this is not the first time an abduction is taking place there. In fact, they have raised concern in June. Sometime in June, they have raised a concern to the federal government. This is what is happening. But then, from the way it's looking, you could tell that the government did not do anything about it, and no wonder we had an attack. And I'm talking about an off-campus that is just about 20 kilometers away from the capital of the city. So that is to tell you that the school is not really very far. So it's expected that it's a busy place. But each time we see an abduction taking place, Richard, it will tell you one thing, which is that these bandits or gunmen, however we choose to call them, always come prepared. They are organized. Yes. They are fully armed, because they had a back-to-back with security agency before finally they were successful to take away some of this, even though some escaped. But then from the time where this report was being brought, a lot of people did not know the number of students. So right now it's been estimated at over 24 students. So this will really take to a lot. We've seen that the Arewa Consultative Forum are pushing, the president is also pushing the fact that security agency need to do a lot to make sure that we have the students back home. Now, Rachel, there are quite a number of questions in the minds of Nigerian students, especially because we know that the new session just started, and then we're having, it seems like this is a welcome coming from this bandit, that immediately they got into school, they were being kidnapped. So quite a number of questions now. What is the government doing that we don't keep having the repetition of this coming over and over and over and over again?
Yes, Stella, for me, I would just like to start from the humanitarian angle, because it's always a concern for me in the previous universities that we've had students being abducted. When they are mixed, there's a likelihood of them coming back. But in the past years, we can take it all the way to Chibok girls, we can take it all the way to Dapchi. Anytime it's just the female gender, for example, we always have issues of them coming back intact. We might have 6, but then we still have more in captivity. And now the question we will start asking ourselves is that, is this going to be a repeat of what has happened in the past? Will these female students gain their freedom? Will they be able to be gotten back by the federal government or the authorities in charge, because we're talking tertiary institution. These are still very young people. These are still young. I'm not trying to put an age within them, but these are still youths. These are still young people. It's not a women conference somewhere. This is a university, and we know that the majority, we can guess their age range, and we can say these are very young people. So I just really hope that something will be done really quick, that we won't wake up to 100 days tomorrow, we won't wake up to 200 days tomorrow saying Gusau girls still in captivity, that we will not wake up to such news like that, because we're talking about a gender that when they are faced with such, we hardly get them back completely. It really takes a very long period of time. So I just hope that this is not left only for security, but that everybody that can do something about these girls being free should do something about it, because it is worrisome in a lot of ways, just looking at the fact that we are talking about girls being the ones taken in this situation. Now, secondly, I mean, I'm not happy anytime I see something like this happens, and then we see the federal government or security agencies saying they are going to take up action or they'll beef up security. Now, I wouldn't be the only person. I believe every other Nigerian is not always happy about that, because what are you beefing up that these things keep happening? It means you're not doing something. Because until we wake up and we see ourselves in a Nigeria free of all of these things, then you are taking the right actions. As long as it keeps happening, it means your actions are not good enough. Just as you said, these people always come well prepared, and we are not prepared. And when you want to take up security action, you've seen that your hands are short when it comes to security in the country. We're calling a spade a spade. We don't have to pretend our security agencies are not having everything on ground. A lot is too much for them so far. Not like they can, but they are getting there, I believe, and we will keep allowing them to get there, and we hope eventually they get to that level. But beefing up security also has to do with sensitization. What are you telling these institutions to do about security? Are you sending advisors to them, tell them this is what you can do as an institution? Because maybe the school administration will not think like that, but you are the security agencies now, with the resources, with the intelligence, with the know-how of how to go about all of these things. Go to these schools and tell them what they're supposed to do in case they are not thinking for themselves. And then we have perimeters when it comes to this school. No matter how spread across, not on campus, because just as we said, we are having shortage of enough accommodation on campus. Yes. So when we are talking about off campus, you find out that these students still live within school
areas, of course.
Majority of them. So these are all perimeters that should be the responsibility of the university, because if only there was enough accommodation for your thousands of students, there wouldn't be need for accommodation outside. So why would you feel that these off-campus accommodations are not your responsibility? They are, because you have failed to provide accommodation enough for everybody you give admission. Then it is your responsibility to make sure that not only those who are on campus are safe, but those who not by their will but have to live off campus are also safe. These are some of the actions that I am hoping to see that schools are taking with the help of security. Because just as you said, we are having community police. Also, we are having vigilante. We are having all of these in various states. Depending on what other security outlet you have, other than what the federal government have, you are expected to engage all of this security out, because it is your responsibility to safeguard the life of students as long as they are accredited, certified, registered, I wanted to say employed students of your institution.
You know, sometimes we really run out of words when we begin to see things like this coming up, Rachel. And just like you were saying, like we're expecting to see synergy coming from the various feet, you know, of security agency there. I know while you were talking, I just cast my mind back. I remember this was the same state that the former governor was pushing for state policing. In fact, he wanted the resident or the indigents of Zamfara to have licensed weapons, he said, because they needed to protect themselves. Now, we see that the present governor has gone forward to actually ban illegal mining because he feels this is one of the ways that we can actually curtail insecurity, because some of the people coming into the state are maybe not indigents of the state, and so they are the ones that are stirring up trouble and then working together. But then, just like we said, over the years, I think it's high time the government take a different will I say different approach toward all of this, because one thing I keep saying is the fact that, Rachel, you can't keep taking the same approach and accept different results. These people get to be I don't know the word to use for them right now, but they tend to be revolting every day. Like they tend to change. Every now, okay, when they want to take an attack, they say what is the better way to go about all of this thing. Okay, we've used this method, so why don't we have
like
a security
thinking better than the security that
and I don't want
resources.
To believe that, Rachel, in any way, because I believe we have the intelligence that is needed. But maybe to some extent we need to look deep and say, what are we not doing right? Presently, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of stakeholders have come out to say maybe it's high time we join the Security Council. Our president just got back from the the UNGA general meeting, and where quite a number of people are talking about the fact that Nigeria need to join the Security Council, because there was a time we were in that council partial members, but we know there's a limit to what as a partial member of the Security Council. There's where other discussions, serious decisions are taken. You will not be part of it. So why don't we see moves where we have to do that? If we are having a president as the chairman of ECOWAS and we're busy fighting other things that are happening at work outside there, I think it is important that we look inwardly. Already, just like I said, the Arewa Consultative is saying that this is really kind of an implication for this. It's a negative implication, because we're seeing the number of girls that are out of school are increasing. So we're talking about 48%. So we're saying that about 52% are in other zones, and then we're talking about 48 are now in the northeast and the northwest. So Rachel, that even with 52. So you now check other zones that are left in Nigeria, then you will tell that a lot of eye need to go into these regions where we are having these out of school children. And it's still part of the reason why we have these girls out, because of the insecurity. No parent is comfortable. In fact, there was a time the area were saying that video calls and phone calls were going on where we see girls telling their other mates, don't go back, oh, this is what happened now. If we go back and all of this that will happen, parents are even scared. They cannot rely on the government anymore to be sure that when my child is in school, I am sure that my child is in school. You have to call every 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Looks as if you're taking your child to a kindergarten and you are sure that the nanny there is actually taking care of your ward. So it's quite heartbreaking, and my heart bleeds for these girls that are there. We don't know the situation of things, but we hope that the government will actually be very, very, proactive on this. We don't know what will be the next way forward. Maybe negotiation is going to start, what will be, but just like we said, we hope it will not be a repeat of the Dapchi or the Chibok girls, where we have them. In fact, the Greenfield, they were mixed, but still we know how long it took the government to bring back these students. In fact, it wasn't the government that had to push. Parents had to kind of maybe form like a PTA meeting or something, come together and see our resources we need to put together so that we'll have our words back home. So honestly, I hope that beyond all of this, even though we know that insecurity is not just limited to Zamfara, we saw in the paper this morning, Plateau State, the Youth Association are saying about 70 communities are being operated by bandits or something. Ohaneze is begging the federal government to come into their aid. And we know the issue, how peculiar the issue of the South is the IPOB and the rest of it. So a number of things need to be handled, just like we keep saying every day. When you're trying to bring this, the government realize there is another sector that needs attention. And right now we're looking at 2-in-1, security, and also we're looking at education that is at risk at this point in time. So honestly, I think it calls for every agency to come back to the round table and let us see where are we getting it wrong. And where do we need to put the right things well, so that we'll have Nigeria where when you're going to school, Rachel, your mind will be at rest. When you're sending your word to school, your mind will be at rest, knowing the fact that security has been provided and that the students will be well taken care of eventually.
Sele, when it comes to the Southeast, I don't think Ohanaeze, they have to ask the federal government to step in for support. When you look at the issue down there, we have the sit at home, the back and forth, and these things are all spreading. I don't think it's something that I have to tell the federal government to step in. It is a matter of federal government. So they should step in and give in the support that is expected, of course, to make sure that whatever insecurity, whatever form it is taking place there, it will be, because we can take it back to something like the Niger Delta. We had Amnesty stepping in, the federal government stepping in to make sure that whatever the problem is, it will be stopped. Now, that's the same thing that has to come in for the Southeast. If we don't want this to spread, if we don't want this to be big, it should be curtailed, then the federal government should step in, and then they should step in immediately, because there is so much work. So they will not stop emphasizing the fact that there is a lot of work. But are we capable of this work? Yes, we are. I just feel that we are just seeing the result of people sleeping on their jobs, people not doing the needful. Because if there was once a time there was peace in this country, then I believe that there could be a time that there would be peace in this country, as long as everybody wake up and do the needful, and as long as we have a leadership that is willing to sit back, review, and do the right thing, what is expected. Because even when we talk about these out of school girls, it's not even all that attributes to insecurity. What about the other factors that is contributing to this 48%? Because the Southeast and the Southwest, it's not all of these regions that are affected by insecurity. We cannot take that away, but we are also having a big number that is as a result of the poverty level, is as a result of some kinds of belief that need to even be out of our societies, as a result of no availability of that school. Because we can see that on the paper, what the government needs to put in place for us to be able to have the out of school children back. And this, of course, will include girl child, so it means the number of out of school girls will also reduce. So these are the things that I believe that there is work, and I believe that the government of Nigeria should be ready to do the work, because we have what it takes to bring Nigeria back to some normality when it comes to security, and also for the growth of the country.
If there's anything the government needs to invest more into, is education, because you cannot invest into education and then you don't see the product or the produce at the end of the day. You definitely get to harvest something. So we just hope the government, it's all about the political will. When there is the will, we'll definitely find a way. Now, still talking about the issue of government and all of that, let's take a look at the NLC. It seems each time you bring up the issue of the NLC, it seems like you're sounding like a broken record again and again, and then people kind of are beginning to get tired of NLC and say, if you want to go to strike, go to strike. If you don't want to go, just stay. We're getting tired of your back and forth, and no wonder we're having the trade union even living and you know, bargaining on their own stand. But then when you look at it critically, Rachel, the truth is that what NLC is asking for is not really out of place. Yeah, we know that within the last week we saw when the federal government kind of increased the salary of lecturers, even though we know it's part of the thing NLC was trying to fight for, talking about the arrears of the salary that will being owed to lecturers when they went for the 8-month strike 2 weeks, I think 2 years back and all of that. That's 2021 where they had the issue of that. But then you know that there's quite a number of things. We cannot rule out the fact that the issue of palliative is there on the table, and they have been hitting hard. We want to know how many states have gotten the palliative. We want to know how much you are willing to increase the salary of workers. But then other people are coming out to say, okay, how about the organized private sectors? Have you considered them? Because you're just talking about workers, and then it seems as if the organized private sector are not part of this thing. We're talking about the issue of manufacturers that are leaving the country. We're talking about other small and medium enterprises that are part of it, because we also have to consider a favorable environment, because just like we keep saying, Richard, the fact that everybody is affected by the removal of the fuel subsidy, whether you like it or not, whether you're working with the government or not. Even if you're a student, you're being affected, because right now we're talking about even an increase in tuition fee. So eventually, in one way or the other, people have been affected by all of these policies that the government had been introducing. But we're seeing that NLC is hoping to have a meeting, because the 21 days ultimatum they gave the government has expired last week, Thursday. So it's hopefully that they will meet tomorrow, and then we are hoping to see what will be their next line of action, because their next line of action will determine whether there will be an indefinite strike or not. And we've seen people saying the effect of this indefinite strike, the fact that the economy will crumble down. We're still trying to see how we can fix things in order. But beyond all of this conversation, I think it's high time that the federal government and NLC come to a compromise, come to an understanding. What is the right thing that needs to be done at a time like this? Because believe you me, Nigerians right now are actually hopping. I could talk about the inflation that is in town presently. Let's not even go there, because transportation is high, food prices is high, cost of goods and services is daily high. So there's nothing you will touch right now and then you don't get blown away. We've seen parents complaining about even the money they have to pay for school fees. So I'm not even to go into tertiary institution. We're talking about even just primary school students, secondary school students, because there is an increase in school fees. Diesel, how much is a diesel? We've seen is about 1,001 or so. So a lot of things need to go into this round table, and I hope that with this meeting that we'll be holding tomorrow, we hope that the government and NLC will truly come to an understanding on the pains Nigerians are going. Because if you say you feel their pain, then act like you truly feel the pains of Nigeria, not just to sweep their pain under the carpet and act as if nothing is actually going on.
Of course, you know, hearing a statement like if the NLC should go on a strike, it will crumble the economy, feels like an emotional blackmail coming from the government to NLC, or it feels just like a government propaganda. Let me put it that way, because with or without the strike, we already have an economy that is crumbling as it is now, because we are struggling with inflation, we are struggling with a devalued naira, a free fall consistently. We are having investors not trooping it as they should. We're having manufacturers going, complaining. We're having the importation of raw materials a threat to all. We are seeing that the fuel pump price keep increasing, therefore forcing a lot of small businesses to close, to shut down, and all of that. We are seeing that a lot of people might not be able to meet up to the payment of their school fees due to the increase and all of that. We are seeing that a lot of companies that are closing, are cutting down staff, people are losing their jobs. So whether we like it or not, we are seeing an increase in unemployment and all of that. So hearing that already makes me wonder, like, wow, this sounds like emotional blackmail coming from the government to the NLC, saying if you do this, this will happen, if you do that, that will happen, whereas it's already happening with or without the strike currently going on in the country. However, let the government wake up and do the needful, and I believe that the NLC should also do the needful, because if only palliatives were being rolled out, I don't think the NLC will come to this level. So why is the government not rolling it out? Well, Rachel, and whether we like it or not, Selem, the NLC not taking a drastic step and allowing the government to take long is indirectly going to allow corruption to thrive. Now, whether we like it or not, some of these palliatives have been out already.
Of course, so we need to just have the number of those who have gotten, and
some of this money have been released. So the more you are giving time and you're allowing it not to be out there, the more we are giving room for these things to not go out, to sit there, the more we're giving this room for this money to get lost and misplaced somewhere. So why are we not being drastic in making sure that the government comes in and take their drastic step? Because the more we sleep on it, the more this money will slip through the cracks, the more these goods will slip through the cracks, and whether we like it or not, we will have some case of people going to loot. Whether we like it or not, this palliative will be swept under the carpet at the long run. Whether we like it or not, this money will be lost,
and there will be no accountability of what actually happened to either the money, the foodstuff, or whatever.
Exactly, Sele. So the more we keep giving this stretch, the more we, whether we like it or not, the NLC is giving room for corruption to thrive. So we are at the point where it's a drastic step that needs to be taken for the government to do the needful, because the silence is not helping the situation. Not going on strike is not helping. Going on strike is either not going to help one way or another. So what is the way forward? If the government is being stubborn, make them listen, because on a normal, we cannot overemphasize that this step shouldn't even be in the plan. But we have a government that is adamant and allowing the organized labor to have to take this step. But then I believe that this is something that shouldn't even get to this, but if it have gotten to this position, then NLC should do the needful and take that drastic step that will make the government of Nigeria listen.
Well, Richard, I hope we could just continue this conversation, but time is fast spent and we have to actually leave. But just a word out there, let us know that the government needs to know that quite a number of things need to be. We have quite a number of lessons, and we hope that every of these lessons the government will take it. Our fingers are crossed. Whatever the outcome will be of the meeting of the NLC tomorrow, we will keep you updated with that. So thank you so much for keeping the day with us on Nigeria Now. Also, we come here again tomorrow to have a blessed day ahead.